Mayor Adams meets with the new federal border czar this week. What's on his agenda? So, Mr. Mayor, what is on your agenda when you meet with Tom Homan at City Hall?
It's all about hearing in a very clear way what's the message and the goal of the border czar, and see how do we collaborate to deal with the securing of our borders and making sure that we can ensure that this city retains and continue to be the safest big city in America.
But what level of cooperation are you willing to give him?
Well, and that's the most important question. Many people are speculating. In order to answer that question, we need to first find out what the mission is. I know what my mission is.
What is your mission?
Public safety. That has always been my North Star. Prior to the election, even when I communicated to the president and his team, the current president, I stated over and over again, we have to deal with the small number of violent offenders who are making their way into our country. In particular, it's a very dangerous Venezuelan gang. It is not the overwhelming number of migrants and asylum seekers, and many of these gang members are preying on migrants and asylum seekers also.
So do you want those gang members, if you get them caught up in a crime, once they've been arrested, should they be deported before trial?
And I want to hear what the border czar's beliefs is around that. My belief has always been, I want you, when you're arrested, to serve your time, because you're not giving justice to the person who was victimized by them, because then if they go out, they could come right back into the country. So I want to hear from the border czar and engage in a conversation and tell them some of my ideas.
So tell me some of your ideas.
Well, number one, we need to secure the border. Let's start with that. And we can't allow people who are criminals to be mixed up into coming into the country. When you look at, is Venezuela emptying their jails to say we're going to have the roads come to America? Those who are coming here to pursue the American dream, there should be a pathway to do so. Second, what I've stated over and over again, we're dealing with the population problem in many of our municipalities. Why aren't we telling the individuals we allow to come into the country, you're going to go where we need you, you're going to fill the jobs that we're looking for, you're going to deal with the population issue. So there's a way to turn this crisis into an opportunity.
But basically what you want to tell them is we want you to go where we want you to go.
Those who we're allowing into the country.
Yes,
yes.
They just can't come in any place. They have to go where the jobs are.
Exactly, and where we need you. I mean, if you want to come into the country, then why don't we have a symbiotic relationship where you're coming in where the country needs you? We need backstretch workers, and we need food service workers.
A residency requirement, like if they need agricultural workers upstate, go upstate.
Exactly, and that's what my mayors and others are saying across the country. Eric, we don't mind bringing in migrants and asylum seekers, because this country was built on immigrants. We don't mind that, but you can't bring people into a municipality
just willy-nilly.
And with a $6.4 billion price tag. Or look at what's happening in Chicago. Look at what's happening in Los Angeles and other places. We're not controlling the problem. We allowed the problem to control us.
So if the border czar wanted to establish some detention centers here in New York, would you let him do it?
I don't want to go into the area of hypotheticals. I want to sit down with the border czar and be able to walk out and tell the public of New York, here's what this administration is planning on doing, and here's what we're going to do. I think there's some common grounds here. From what I'm hearing from the border czar, he's concerned about public safety the way I am, and New Yorkers are concerned about public safety.
So what's the common ground?
Well, public safety. What is it going to take to ensure that we're safe? What is it going to take to continue the rich spirit of the American people allowing immigrants in? What is it going to take to secure our border? And what is it going to take to have a real comprehensive immigration reform?
So would you allow ICE agents to reopen their offices at Rikers Island? That would make it easier for them to deport people who've committed crimes?
I heard one councilman state that, indicating litmus tests. I'm not into litmus tests. I'm into solving problems, and as we are continually doing in the city. I don't want to walk into a meeting with the border czar with preconceived notions and lines in the sand. I want to walk in and sit down with him and say, let me hear your vision. And let me share what my vision is. We've been doing this for 2 years now. 2,500 migrants and 225,000 migrants and asylum seekers. We got something right because remember, 170,000 have gone on to the next step of their journey.
Should there be more cooperation with ICE agents, though?
Yes, I do believe that. I stated this prior to the election, and this is what gave me, Marcia. People are saying, okay, after the president-elect is coming in, Eric is now saying different things. No, I was saying this prior to the election. I was saying those who are committing crimes in our city must be addressed, and we should change the current sanctuary city law to address that issue. Mayor Bloomberg knew that, Mayor Koch knew that, the previous administration altered that, and I thought it was a big mistake.
So do you think you could have any chance of re-altering or re-changing it so that there's more cooperation?
Well, the city council made it clear they don't want to change that. They stated they're not willing to change the sanctuary city law. I think they're wrong. I have my teams looking at my power as executive orders. I'm going to sit. Is
it possible you could do an executive order?
We're looking at that. The legal team, the corporation council that they just approved, they're looking at, the office is looking at, do I have the power to do so? I have to protect the people of this city. That is my North Star. It always has been. And if you are committing crimes on migrants, on immigrants, undocumented, documented, it's all the same to me. And I want to address that.
So I want to understand this. Yes. You're thinking of an executive order that would allow you to change the sanctuary city laws so there could be more cooperation with the feds?
No, I told the Corporation Council, give me what are my options. I want to know what my options are. As I stated almost a year ago, I want to look at those who are committing serious violent felonies in our city, and I want to know what are my powers. Once the city council made it clear we're not changing the sanctuary city laws to allow ICE to go after those dangerous offenders. Once they made that clear, I went to Plan B and said, what are my options and my powers?
And you want to see if you can make that, you can change that?
Yes, I want to see it, and I want to be able to sit down with the borders are and say, here's my concern, and we're looking at ways that I could use my executive power to go after those dangerous, violent people. I sent to South America, to Colombia, the intelligence deputy commissioner and my first deputy commissioner, and they did a deep dive into this dangerous gang that is making their way up from Venezuela. And these are dangerous people.
And you want to keep them out of the city?
Yes, I do. And you know what? Everyday New Yorkers want to do that.
So let me ask you this. The president wants to use tariffs in Mexico and in Canada to force them to close their borders or to do more to keep people from coming in. Good idea, bad idea?
Far more economic experts than I could answer that. I think whatever methodologies we can do to stabilize these regions. What I learned when I went down to the Darien Gap is that our attitude of not really stabilizing Colombia, stabilizing Ecuador, stabilizing parts of Mexico, this is something we need to look into, because Colombia was stating that we're willing to help this problem, but we need assistance. Because what I learned is that Venezuela helped Colombia when they were going through some serious problems. And President Clinton went down to help Colombia during the drug problems because the drugs were finding their way here. We need to look into how do we stabilize those regions in a system so that we can stop this flow up here.
The reason I ask this is because tariffs could raise the prices here in this country. And this is enlightened self-interest for you, because I did some research, and it turns out that Mexico, believe it or not, last year supplied 67% of the fruits and vegetables in the United States and 47% of nuts. So since you are a vegan, it could mean that you're going to have to pay more to eat your diet.
And I'm a plant-based eater. You know, a lot of people, mix that up sometimes. But I don't want to pay more for nuts, and I don't want to pay more for fruits and vegetables. But at the same time, I don't want to deal with some of these horrific incidents. And it's just unfair to those who are coming here to pursue the American dream when you're living a year, 2 years inside a shelter. That is not why people come to this country. And we should not be paroling people into the country if we're not paroling them into an opportunity such as work and to be able to provide for their family. And this is just common sense. It's just common sense. And so I'm not going to stay on a talking point because it sounds right. I know what happens when you bring 225,000 people into a city and it doesn't have any opportunities.
And you don't want that to happen here?
No, I do not. And as I laid out last week, at the off topic, $6.4 billion should have gone into the issues that we're facing in the cities. These are real issues that we're facing. It's unfair to the migrants and asylum seekers, and it's unfair to New Yorkers. And people will demonize me because I'm trying to be honest. And I'm not going to try to find the right soundbite when I know what happens when you don't do right for everyday people.
And on that note, we're going to have to leave it right there for now. But our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. We are here with Mayor Eric Adams. So to continue our discussion about the migrant situation in New York City, I wonder if you're at all worried about the fact that Floyd Bennett Field, which is where you have a family shelter that has about 2,000 people in it, is a federal lease. And are you worried that they may decide to cancel that lease? And if so, what are you going to do about it?
Well, I think we cannot underestimate or underappreciate, I should say, what Deputy Mayor Williams Eisen, my Chief of Staff, Camille Joseph-Valix, and the entire team, Molly, what they did to bring down the population.
And they have, and you've closed a lot of shelters.
Exactly, and we're going to continue to do so. We brought down the cost of what it takes to run.
You saved $2 billion.
Think about this. And remember the policies we put in place of the 30 and 60 day. Remember how much criticism we got? People said we were inhumane. No, being inhumane is allowing someone to grow up in a shelter. That's inhumane. We allow people to take the next steps on their journey. And so we're starting to close shelters. Floyd Bennett Field may be one of those. We're looking at scenario to figure out what we're going to do as we manage the last few migrants and asylum seekers that we have. And so our goal is to make sure we do it in a humane way and we get it right. We don't know exactly what's going to happen right now with Floyd Bennett Field.
But what if they decide that they wanted to turn Floyd Bennett Field into a detention center? What would your position be on that?
We're looking at all of these scenarios, and our goal, again, is to coordinate with this administration to deal with the crises and that crises that none of these cities should have had to inherit and carry on their own. And that's the key here. Chicago should not have had to handle this. Houston, Los Angeles, New York, Denver. This was wrong, what we did to cities and how we impact cities.
You know, you made a point at your press conference earlier in the week about talking about the fact that the American public made it clear that they wanted a border solution. Do you have any ideas about what that solution would look like? And
you're right, they did make it. They made it clear. I mean, this was at the top of the concerns: affordability, securing our borders, and not only people can say what they want, but the president not only won the electoral vote, he won the popular vote. And so we can't just say, well, we want to do what we want to do and not what the American people has asked for. I believe that solution looks like if you are paroled into this country, you should be paroled also with work authorization. You should be paroled with temporary protected status. And we should tell you where you need to go for 3 years or a predetermined amount of time to help us with what we need help with. We need help with many jobs that need to be filled and to deal with the decrease in population across this country.
So basically what you're saying is this: people who come into this country should come in knowing, first of all, that they have work authorization. Secondly, that they will have a job. And third, you're going to tell them where to go to get that job.
Exactly, for a period of time, a predetermined period of time, because we're saying America needs you. America needs you if there's a place for agriculture work. America needs you if there's a place for food service workers, for backstretch workers in the racing industry. There's places that we need people. And here, individuals are coming and saying, I want to participate in the American dream. And they're willing to do it. That's the irony of all of this, Marcia, that I didn't quite understand. The country was in need of people. employees and those who wanted to love this country. Why didn't we connect them with our needs? We totally didn't do that.
So what's the period of time? You think 3 years, 5 years? What period of time would they have to agree to go to the location of the government's choice to do the job that the government picks for them?
I picked out a time of 3 years. There are more experts that are better than determining what's the period of time they need to do, and I'm open to that. But one thing should be clear. You should not be paroled in and figure it out on your own. That should not happen. You parole in, you don't know where you're going to live, you don't know what job you're going to have. Just go figure it out on your own and have cities pick up the cost of doing that.
So what jobs do you want people to come here to fill for you, for New York City, and for New York State? Nursing. We have a shortage of nurses. Food service workers. We have a shortage of food service workers, translators, teachers that could do languages. All of these industries we have shortage for. I'm hearing my employers say, Eric, we need employees in all of these areas. And we had food service workers who companies that joined us and say, we need workers. so why are we begging for workers when there are those who are willing to work and we're saying to them, no, you can't work. You're going to be on city taxpayers' dime for a year or maybe even 2 years. That makes no sense. But what if they get sent to a place they don't like? They just do it for 3 years and then they can go wherever they want?
Well, right, anywhere out, that's my theory. Anywhere throughout the entire country after you gave your service to the country.
Okay. So let's change topics.
Yes.
You say you're going to run for re-election.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I wonder how you feel about the people who have already announced that they want to run. Brad Lander, Scott Stringer, Andrew Cuomo, Whitney Tilson, Jim Whalen, Zohran Mamdani, Ziran Mari, all these people.
Right,
How do you feel about that?
Well, we saw this movie before. You remember all those people that got into the race last time? And Andrew Yang was 13 points ahead of me in the race. And what did I say? Stay focused, no distractions, and grind. I'm running again with all these hurdles. That's the beauty of this. With all that's going on, COVID, migrant seekers, the indictment, all of these things going on, I'm still moving the city forward. I'm still focused enough. I still have the grit of a New Yorker. Why shouldn't people want to have the job of being the mayor of the greatest city on the globe? I'm going to sell my product.
So wait a second, though. Are there any of these people that you're afraid of running against?
I tell my team all the time, I'm not running against opponents. I'm running against myself. Be the person you want to be, Eric. And my record speaks for itself with this great team that I put together.
Do you think they're going to hold your indictment against you?
They're going to try everything. Look what they're doing already. I mean, think about it, Marcia. Look what they're doing already. They go back and look at the videotape. They were blaming me for not solving all the problems in the city January 2nd, 2022. But I brought down crime throughout my campaign.
You did.
I turned around our economy. More jobs in the city history are now right now. We have broke records in housing over and over again. Invested in $30 billion back into our low-income New Yorkers. When you start to tick off the things I ran on and see what I accomplished, I kept my word. And now I can go out there and tell the New York public I lived up to what I promised you.
But let's talk about the politics of this for a second. Mm-hmm. Brad Lander, Stringer, Mamdani, Ramos, Zellner Mirin, they're all way far to the left of where you've run.
Yes.
What's the lesson of the presidential election in terms of how the city, actually 44% of the people in the city voted for Donald Trump? Is people running to the left a good strategy, or is it a gift to you who've always run sort of in a middle lane? Well,
I'm a common sense candidate, and I said today on the interview that I'm about the American party. I believe in this country, and what I saw in the election is that Americans and New Yorkers said, we're tired of your squabbling. While I'm trying to find housing, you are fighting over something insignificant. You're calling each other's names. So I'm running on the Democratic line as the mayor in my reelection, but my message is the same message when I ran on. Working people first. I have a working people agenda, and far too many people are caught up in name calling, attacking each other. And can you imagine when you're unsure of where your next meal is coming from, if you have a house to live in, if you're dealing with violence, and you have people talking about things that are not dealing with your issues? That's what the American people said. They had enough of that conversation.
So with so many people seeking the Democratic nomination, have you ever thought about seeking the Republican nomination as well, given the fact that, you know, for example, one of your heroes, Michael Bloomberg, ran as a Republican the first time and it served him well. Has it ever crossed your mind that maybe you should seek the Republican line?
No, it did not. And you're right, one of my heroes. I believe Michael Bloomberg.
And he won.
Right, and he contributed to the city. And Bill de Blasio contributed to the city. I don't want to give the impression that he brought compassion and caring. I thought Michael Bloomberg, he could have done anything he wanted to do, but he wanted to give back to the city that he loved. But no, that's not my desire. My desire.
How about running on the independent line? My
desire is to run on a line that I was elected on, and I'm going to continue to run on that line. And come one, come all. One thing I have that they don't have, I have a record. And my record is a clear one. And no, if people take an unbiased look, forget about how we feel about Eric Adams. Just take an unbiased look, close your eyes, and look at what I accomplished in 2 years and 10 months. And say to yourself, is this the person that should lead our city? You have to walk away with a yes.
But the charges that have been brought against you must be depressing for you. I mean, to have to cope with that at the same time as you're running for re-election and at the same time as you're trying to run a very complicated city. Let
me tell you what's the most aggravating part of this, the charges aspect of it.
You can't talk about it.
That's number one. But number two, people knew me. I saw people that say Eric should step down that know me. They know my character. They've been with me for years. And nothing was more hurtful. They didn't even read the indictment. They didn't even call me. They were so caught up in the loudest and my naysayers. And it's so painful when people know how you live your life. And then the leaks, the constant leaks, you know, the constant attacks on your character that you build up. Let me tell you, the only part of this that I feel blessed about is that mommy's not alive. To see her son go through this. That's the only thing that I feel blessed about. I would not have wanted to watch her son go through this.
Has this been difficult for your brothers and sisters as well?
It's been hard on the entire family. Marcia had to spend $2 million as a public servant in legal fees. Where does a public servant get that? If it wasn't for New Yorkers saying, we know this guy, and responding when I opened that trust, and the family members seeing this, and now we're hearing others are saying that Biden should pardon people because this would be difficult on their families and difficult on them, and they would have to pay high legal fees. Well, what about me? What about those mothers who are placed on FBI watch lists because they were standing up for their children?
Well, you said the other day you think that the justice system has been politicized. You believe that, don't you?
Yes, I do, with all my heart. But not only do I believe it, the president stated it. Donald Trump stated it. And countless others. You should look at some of these stories, what happened to people that stand up because of what they believe in. I believed in this city. We were going in the wrong direction with the migrants and asylum seekers. And I was very clear about that after 10 trips to Washington, D.C. I know what this crisis has done to our city long term. And New Yorkers are going to see the byproduct of $6.4 billion removed from our coffers.
So given the fact that you think it's been politicized, there's some people who think that President Trump might move to pardon some of the people who were involved in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Do you think that's something he should do because it's been politicized, or he should not do?
I think that's the determination of the president. I believe it's imperative that we seek justice in our country. And my legal team is doing an awesome job of looking at every avenue of justice. I did nothing wrong, and I believe that I should have justice in this case. And as part of this, I will never be able to get back. People are always going to feel as though because we believe in our criminal justice system, that was there something that Eric did that was inappropriate. Now remember, Marcia, and you've been around me a long time, I've been fighting for proper criminal justice systems and reform as long as I can remember. It didn't matter if it was in the police department, in the state senate, and borough president. Americans should not be treated unfairly in criminal justice system. And I think President Biden was right when he stated that his Justice Department has been politicized.
So was he right to pardon his son?
That was his call. It's a very challenging one. You're talking about a mother, a child, a son, a child. Those are real moments. And if one were to ask me, what would I do for Jordan, who I love, my son, my only son?
Would you pardon him?
I would have to think deeply and really come up with the right decision, but it would be a very tough decision.
So you've had a week of successes. You did get the City of Yes passed, which was a huge thing in terms of housing, but it was a split vote. I mean, the City Council passed it, but there was a third of the people, 20 people, who said no. Right. So does that make it more difficult for you to do?
Not at all. You know, if it wasn't a split vote, I would say, what are we doing in New York? Remember, 8.3 million people, 35 million opinions. That's New York. That's good democracy. When we don't have dictators, we deliberate, we come up with right decisions. Those city councils members were speaking on behalf of their constituencies, and that's fine. We got it done. The most comprehensive housing reform in the history of our city. That is, even my critics had to say this is a legacy moment for Eric. Now, you know what else is interesting? It's not that we did it only and what we were able to get done, but what did we overcome?
A lot.
We did it. We did
overcome a lot.
Right. When people were saying he could no longer lead, he needs to step aside. All of those things. We did the tax for low-income New Yorkers, 150%.
Tax.
Right. 150% at the poverty level or lower. We're now going to give them no city personal income tax. We're doing the...
well, you need the state to say yes on that.
Yes, and we have a real partner with the governor. We have great lawmakers, Senator Comrie, Assemblywoman Ranise Bichat-Hermlin, that's going to be carrying the bills. But when you look at since this terrible announcement on me and what we have continued to do, this is a great New York story. People thought that we would fall apart and we would all of a sudden go somewhere and hide. No, we didn't step down. We stepped up and we provided for the city of New York. And when we look back on this moment, people are going to see the resiliency of a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker. We know how to get stuff done and to move forward. You know, I was telling someone the other day, Marcia, I used to walk past Mommy's bedroom, and I would hear her crying inside there because she was unsure if we were going to have a place to stay and feed. But none of my other siblings saw and heard it. But every morning, she got up. She got up on her arthritic knees. She would use her cane sometimes. She did those 3 jobs. She never gave up. Never gave up, and I thought about her often throughout this whole ordeal.
So you're doing the same thing, you're not giving up.
That's all I know.
So this past week, you did a whole bunch of things that were about affordability. I'm hearing that next week, this coming week, it's going to be all about security.
Yes.
Can you give us a hint? Are we talking about more cops, more technology? Come on.
If I give it away, you won't invite me back on the show.
Are you kidding?
No, we have some great plans. Really excited about Commissioner Tisch on board. She brings a real element to what we are doing.
That must mean technology.
No, it's going to be a combination of things that we're doing to ensure as we move into the new year. It's hard to believe January 1st is going to be here before we know it. We're going to really show New Yorkers how we're going to continue to keep New Yorkers safe.
Last question, since you brought up New Year's, do you have a New Year's resolution?
You know, I said it last year, and I lived up to it, and I'm going to do it this year. You know, just spend some more time with Jordan. I'm just having a lot of fun with him. He's grown up to be an impressive young man, and, you know, we laugh a lot. I just see myself in him, you know, and, I'm hoping this year he comes to me and say, Dad, okay, I'm going to get married. It's time for you to have some grandchildren.
So you want grandchildren?
Yes.
Oh, God. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
And thank you at home for joining us as well.